getting ready to go to the town of historic Pomeroy, Ohio. It was founded in 1804 and became a village, incorporated into a village in 1840, and named after a landowner that came from Massachusetts, Samuel Pomeroy. At the last census in 2010, there was 1,852 people. But around 1870, when this town was at its biggest, there was more than 5,000 residents here. A lot of industry from the coal and the salt mines. In fact, the first coal barge to ever be built and put on the Ohio River, called the Condor, was built here in 1836 and was fired by coal instead of wood. This area is also known for Mike Bartrum, who played NFL football. Was very good at it from 1993 to 2007. Now one of the coaches at Marshall Thundering Herd. This town does get flood. The water comes up through the parking lot and through the front street there every year. It did have some really bad floods before. 1884, 1913, and 1937, where it went corrupt past the courthouses. It's a nice little town right along the Ohio River. You got these old buildings, 3-, 4-story buildings built back in the 1800s. Beautiful courthouse that actually is in the Ripley's, believe it or not, because it has a ground floor entrance on each of its 3 floors. So you have to check that out in Ripley's, believe it or not. It was also used as a jail for more than 200 of Morgan's raid after the capture of the Battle of Buffington Island also. A lot of history in this area. A lot of beautiful stone churches. Bridge crossing the river. This one was built a few years ago, but the original one was built back in the 20s, and before that it was horse-drawn buggy to get over to Mason, West Virginia. What I mean, horse-drawn tugboats is what I mean, not buggies. They'd use horses on each side to pull the rope to pull the barge back over. And you'd go on the barge with your wagon and horses. Like I said, every year the floodwaters get in the parking lot and usually across the street and starting to go into the buildings. I mean, that's just a well, should I say, a good flood. Of course, they never wanted to put a flood wall around because it would shut off what the town is known for. It's view of the Ohio River. I mean, it's one of the things it's known for. Take you up here right now is the courthouse. This is the courthouse I was talking about. There's 3 ground entrances on. There's 3 ground entrances on 3 different floors. Pretty cool. There's beautiful stone churches, you know. This was built back in the 1850s. Beautiful building. We'll turn around here up at this stone church. I really like this church. It stands up on the hill. You can see it, the peak of it real good from where I live in Mason. Because my backyard is the Ohio River. Very cool building, isn't it? Now, I'm just taking you through like the main drag of Pomeroy. If I was up to take you, it's spread all over these hills right here. If I'd take you up and down all the streets, it'd be well over an hour. It's a nice little size village. is what they call it, a village. Another thing is that, just going side trivia, the McDonald's here was wanted to serve the final pizza at McDonald's here in August 31st of 2017, which McDonald's phased their pizza out in the late 90s, but this restaurant and the one in Spencer that was owned by the same guy, Spencer, West Virginia, served them up until 2017, until they wouldn't allow them no more. I love this parking lot there. I'm going to take you across through the light across here. It's built with big old sandstones, you know, back in the 1800s. It's beautiful to look at from the levee and Mason. It's a beautiful, that's where you get your best view of Pomeroy High, from the levee there in Mason, West Virginia. Like I said, the river traffic was heavy back in the late 1800s. They had a steel mill, machine shops, brewery, organ factory, bugging and wagon factory, copper shops, tanneries, cobbler shops, jewelry stores, bake shops, meat markets, blacksmith shops, furniture factories, boat builders, millinery shops, monument works, flour mills, horse stables, clothing and grocery stores. A newspaper was first published in 1843 here. Telegraph line came in 1848, and the railroad came here right through the town here in 1886. Like I said, the horse-powered ferry to Mason, West Virginia, it started in 1854, and the steam ferry came later on. Of course, there was doctors and dentists here. The peak was around World War I for the production of salt and coal out of here. The demand for the coal. And of course, during World War II, the TNT plant was just down across the river. The bridge was just been finished, so you could cross the river and go down there. That was big work during World War II around here. You should check out the TNT area near Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Read about it or watch a video on it. It's a beautiful little town. I really enjoy living like right along the river. You know, you get used to it and you get away from it and you come back and you really appreciate that river. Just something about living along it in the hills. Quiet little, you know. Mason's only got 721 across the river. There's only 1,852 here at last census. Right here on the left was the Wild Horse Cafe. It burnt down, a very popular restaurant up until 2 years ago. If it's been 2 years. Right up here around the hill before you cross the bridge. They tore it down many years ago, but in the 90s I worked at a little full-service gas station called the Certified Minuteman. And it was the same as it was in the 60s. I mean, it was a little run down, you know, but it still had the same 76 sign up, the same lights, you know, with it was pretty cool. Of course, McDonald's right here, that was where the railroad station was back in the day. They used to have a train that ran over the ceiling. You could watch it inside the McDonald's for a couple decades, and they finally took it down. Yeah, right up here on the right, on the hillside, was where that service station was. The older bridge was just on the other side of this bridge. So yeah, it was one of the last full service gas stations around, actually. That was around late 80s, early 90s. Thing about this bridge here, they had two crews, right? They had the crew working on the West Virginia side, and they have a crew that's working on the high side, and they meet at the middle. Now, I don't know, because once, you hear, it depends what side of the river or who the side was that was working, what side's fault it was. But when they got into the middle, they was off a little bit. And you can feel it when you get right in the middle here. It makes a dip down to go left a little. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to tell if it wasn't for the dip. Maybe you might see it go down here in the camera. Yep, right there. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. It was just a ride along. Sorry if I was mumbling on, and I tried to give you as much information as I could remember. But I appreciate you guys coming by and watching it. Keep being you.